Hello and welcome to WCTV's Wildlife Encounters. This program is brought to you in partnership with the Granite State Zoo, which is located in New Hampshire. I'm your host, Naomi Stock. Today's guest and an ongoing guest many of you are familiar with is Derek Small, who is the founder of the Granite State Zoo and the Wildlife Encounters program. Hi, Derek.
Hey.
Nice to see you again.
Happy New Year.
Well, Happy New Year. We have a one-year anniversary. This show means 1 year we've been here.
I know, 4 animals per show, 4 times 12. Let's see, you got a whole bunch of kids right now yelling it out. I know it, I know it. You know, probably the homeschooled kids.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah. So we've got some repeat animals here.
Okay.
You know, an animal actually that came here for the first time for our first show. So he's coming back for the kicking off the new year again. Nice. A very appropriate animal to have here in New Hampshire in the winter. And we've got some new animals as well.
Great.
That are going to be a part of the show. So what's new with you? New Year's resolutions, anything like that?
No, I usually start them earlier.
Yeah? So you build
There's
momentum?
too much pressure, yeah. So when everyone's like, what's your New Year's? I'm like, I got mine already.
Plow right through the holidays? Resist all the temptations?
Yeah, I might go to New York for the holidays, but I'm not sure.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah,
actually, we've been to New York a few times. A couple of days after Christmas, actually, or by the time they see this, we would have filmed on the Today Show for the second time this fall. Yeah, one of the animals here, our Brazilian porcupine thorn that I know you've met before, the little guy who sits there with a long tail. Let's see, what else is going down? Our cuscus, who may also be heading to the West Coast for a filming opportunity. We might talk a little bit more about that later. Yeah. So.
Do you get a commission as his agent?
No. I did have to send off headshots though.
They
were like, "What in the world is a cuscus?" And of course, your viewers have seen it before. I think Tiffany brought it here, right?
You know,
Tiffany, the dark-haired educator.
Tiffany.
Yeah, I think she brought the cuscus because she's kind of fond of her. But yeah, I actually had to send off headshots and a little video clip we had to throw up for them to take a look. But no, exciting things going on. So we're very excited for 2012 for the future of our organization as a nonprofit. Obviously to continue delivering our Wildlife Encounters programs, not only all throughout the region, but we are returning for the summer of 2012 at Canopy Lake Park, and of course to be here for the Wildlife Encounters shows with WCTV 21.
Terrific.
So yeah.
Well, it's glad we made it a whole year, and who's going to start off?
Nobody's bleeding, right? No major accidents for a full year.
That's right.
That's good. Well, this year, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of start off with a really, really happy story, we think.
Oh, great.
Many of the viewers will know that we have a wide diversity of animals at our facility in Rochester, and that many of those animals come to us from other facilities here in the country where they were born.
Right.
And some animals are brought to us by law enforcement occasionally and so on, but we do also have a significant number of our animals that come to us with kind of sad stories.
Right.
You know, stories of rescue, stories of abandonment, injury, and so on. We do work very closely with wildlife rehabilitators. So if one of our animals out in our natural environment is injured or orphaned, that they can get proper care and hopefully return to the wild. Right. Places like Audubon and Squam Lakes will often give safety and sanctuary to animals that can't survive on their own anymore in the wild. And we don't currently have any animals that came to us through that circumstance, but we do have many animals that are not native to this area that have experienced similar trauma. So our first one is kind of like a sad story that we're happy to give a happy ending. All right, so let me get her real quick.
Okay. Hey there.
There we go.
Wow.
I'm sure this animal you recognize what type of animal it is. No licking my finger, young lady. It is an iguana, that's right. There are many different species, and actually in a future episode we will meet a very terrestrial cousin of the species.
Okay.
For those who don't know what terrestrial is, terrestrial refers to an animal that spends the majority of its time on the ground. Okay. All right? Whereas this animal here, also an iguana, is an arboreal species, which for your viewers, and they're already yelling it out, spends most of its life in the trees.
Okay, so say that word again?
Arboreal. Arboreal refers to the animal's tendency to spend much of its life off the ground.
Okay.
Okay? And so this animal, known as the iguana commonly in our language and known scientifically as iguana, that's actually the science.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
just like you and I, we have first name, last name. Anytime a plant or an animal is discovered, and scientists want to kind of say, all right, what other plants or animals is it related to? Then it groups it based on various different, what we call classifications. And eventually they get it down right into what they call the genus and the species. It's those things that are very closely related to you and then you specifically. So like for us, we are part of the group of primates known as the Homo group, and specifically we're sapiens. Right, we're the only ones of those.
Right.
There have been others in the past, but we're the only ones that survive. So we're known scientifically as Homo sapiens. This one is iguana.
And you're very proud. You look very proud.
Oh yes, displaying well for the camera.
What are these? It almost looks like a jewel. If
These large, yeah, they are definitely on either side.
It looks like a piece of jewelry is embedded in your cheek.
Yep, very, very large, prominent scalation there, and tend to be a little bit larger in males than females. Okay. And differentiated scales here as well. All these different scales will help the animal blend into its natural environment. Camouflage, sometimes they're used to create what's called a dimorphism, or a visual difference between males and females. All right. So this particular, let me tell you the sad story.
Okay.
The sad story. This animal was brought to us not very long ago by a biology student. Actually, it was found. Now, for clarity, this is a rainforest species, and we are not in the rainforest right now. Okay, but this is a rainforest species that was found wandering around on the UNH campus at Durham.
Oh, really?
Yes. Biology students saw it wandering around, said, "That's not from around here." Took it and alerted their biology professor, who said, well, this animal needs to get some proper care and so on. She's got scars from a lot of different injuries and so on. You can see that a lot of these are actually completely missing. Okay. And we don't know the story. We don't know, and I don't want to know the details. We know that at some point in the past, she actually broke off her tail.
Oh, yeah,
If you can see, kind of like a dark stripe, a little lighter, dark again, lighter, dark again, lighter, almost a banding, but then it kind of stops right here, and this all just kind of looks gray. And as you can see, probably in the camera, it's even a little bit bent. The iguana has a special, and I don't want to say unique, but it's pretty unique way of defending itself, in that if a predator is chasing it or attacking and grasps its tail, it can do something called autotomize. It can actually break off its tail and continue running. Right. And the tail structure keeps it from bleeding a lot. Muscles kind of close off so it doesn't lose blood. Okay. And they can actually regenerate their tail. Right. Kind of like starfish and stuff like that. Sure. And so from here on, where I'm pinching on, this is actually regrown tail. Oh, yeah. It doesn't look as nice as the first part. It's not. It never is pretty. And it's basically the reptile equivalent of a scar. Sure. It's pretty hard, pretty inflexible. And adding further injury to the injury was the fact that it was injured again, so you can see that it's bent. Right. We don't know a whole lot of detail. We don't know if she escaped, if she was discarded, or what, but this is a female green iguana.
She's beautiful, and she's called a green iguana. Her underbelly is this intense, right, green, this beautiful. Yeah. Well, you almost look
much
like
better coloration down there.
Like
and as her nutrition improves and her general overall health, we hope that her coloration will improve as well. So that's our first guest.
Well, we're happy to have you, and you are just gorgeous.
We're going to move on to another animal, also native to the trees, also native to South America.
Great. Well, cheers to that kid who brought him in. I'm surprised he didn't want to take him home. And,
As our organization grows and develops, we continue to have more and more partnerships and connections with the UNH campus and the various different departments. We recently worked on a project that we're not ready to announce publicly with the Whittemore School of Business and Economics. We've got some exciting things going on that they're kind of helping us out with. But here comes another rescue story, another animal native to South America. Come on, don't be afraid of the lights, young man. There we go. And this guy here we call Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Okay. Now, do you know what Ricky is?
Well, I'm just a bird.
Just a bird. She did not say that.
I'm sorry. I don't, like, nothing comes to mind. The size of a dove.
Okay.
Not
a small dove,
parakeet or
sure. You know what? Parakeet is actually one of the common names. This species goes by a couple of names, and monk parakeet is actually one of its common names.
Oh, I've never heard of
the monk parakeet. It's more commonly known, it is technically a parrot. It's known also as a Quaker parrot. Okay. Now the Quaker parrot is a very commonly found species throughout many areas of South America, primarily Brazil, Argentina, and so on. But they have been introduced. In fact, there's only one other member of the parrot family that has been introduced to more other places as an invasive species than the monk parakeet.
Really?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what does the monk parakeet do? You have a very fluffy head.
He's very stimulated right now. He's like, wow, this place is really different and really cool. The monk parakeet, or the Quaker parrot, again, it's known commonly by both names, back in the 1960s was imported in massive numbers for exploitation in the pet trade. There are many people probably watching here who either have had in the past, do now, or know somebody who has a Quaker parrot as a pet.
Oh, right.
Okay. Now, these days in many states, that's actually illegal or highly regulated because this particular type of parrot is unique among the parrot family in that they are well adapted to surviving much colder temperatures.
Right.
Okay. These have been introduced into Spain and other parts of Europe. They are commonly an invasive species and a pest species in Italy. And in the United States, right up into through New York City, Chicago, and even here in New England into parts of coastal Connecticut and Rhode Island.
Now you mentioned a pest species.
Pest species, yeah.
What are they doing as becoming a pest?
Well, pest is all interpretive, right?
Right.
It's all a matter of how we perceive things.
Sure.
So they're just surviving as they're supposed to. You know, they live in relatively large groups. Of course, they forage on lots of plant matter. They're not a predatory animal. They're not out like an owl or an eagle hunting and preying on other wildlife.
Right.
But these guys have significant impact. In some areas that are very agriculturally driven, with grains and other crops, these guys are considered a pest because they will go and they'll forage on the farmer's crops.
Okay.
And in many parts of the world, they try to do that. Around here in New England, their biggest impact is actually the fact that this is the only member of the parrot family that stick builds a nest. Like you would see a sticks of eagle's nest, you know, something built out of sticks. These guys are the only parrot that build a nest out of sticks.
Oh, nice.
And it's not just any nest.
Very
it's not just
skilled.
like the little robin's nest that the kid finds in the
Really?
yard in the spring or something. These nests are communal nests with
Oh.
many. Think of it like a giant apartment building with lots of different pairs of birds, male and female pairs, creating their own little apartment.
So they're all like carpenters.
Kind of, yes. And they're building the stick nest, and sometimes these stick nests are built in the tops of trees, which can actually become so heavy that the trees can't support the weight. Here I know in Connecticut and Brooklyn and so on, they'll build them on the tops of, you know, wrought iron fences, sometimes on power lines and up on the...
I don't think I've ever seen one.
Yeah,
Really?
and some of these nests can literally become the size of small vehicles.
Oh, wow.
And in many
That would be
cities,
neat to see one.
many cities in New York and up into Connecticut, I know Milford, Connecticut had a huge problem with electrical brownouts and loss of power because these guys would build such a large nest on like electrical conduit that it takes out the power lines and the power service. So they're considered a pest for a number of reasons. But this is Ricky, our Quaker parrot.
Hi, Ricky. It's like the condos are moving in. Well, you have to take a break. Do you have any words that you can say? You need to take a break.
I just look pretty.
We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
You think the safest place in the world for your baby is wrapped in your arms. It can also be one of the most dangerous because parents most often spread pertussis, whooping cough, and it's potentially fatal to infants. Researchers found up to 80% of babies get it from family members. Ask your healthcare provider about the adult pertussis vaccine today, because your baby could be this close to catching it.
Welcome back to Wildlife Encounters. We're here with Derek Small, who is introducing us to some really incredible little creatures. Who do you have next for us?
Well, you know what? It's January.
Yep.
And it's cold.
Yep.
And it's New Hampshire.
Okay.
So I decided to wrap up our January episode with some fluffdom. Some really fluffy animals. Super soft. You're going to love them.
Super fluffy.
Super fluffy and super soft. Any guesses?
A fox?
Maybe a fox here, but we're going to start out with an animal that can survive extremely cold temperatures, but not at the North Pole, but at altitude.
It's a widow chinchilla.
It's a widow chinchilla, that's right.
Look at you. You look like a little bunny rabbit.
I know, beautiful little spotted ears and so on. This is one of our little female chinchillas, and the chinchillas that we have at our facility don't have individual names. Yes, absolutely.
See, if you close your eyes, what's so nice about a chinchilla, if you close your eyes and you touch it, you don't even feel like you're touching anything. It's like powder.
I had a kid in a classroom years ago, I remember, just it always sticks in my head, touched it and said, wow, that feels like a cloud. And I guess I was on my on day because I looked at the kid and I'm like, when did you touch a cloud? And he was like, So yeah, you know, when with many of the animals that we have at our facility that we take to schools and locations off-site as a part of our wildlife encounter services, we do give kids and adults very often the opportunity to touch things. And oftentimes these are animals that they've never had contact with before. And so they are what we're calling them prior knowledge. You know, something that I've touched that feels the same.
Right.
You know, you let kids touch a snake and they're like, oh, its skin feels like plastic. You know, you touch this, it kind of feels like a cloud, you know, or something like that. So it's always exciting, especially with the younger kids, like second grade down to the preschoolers, what they're going to come up with. And I've heard some crazy things before. Come back here,
You were
going
to be our first escape. We made it a whole year without an escape.
I know,
Don't ruin our good record. You are really, so tell us about a chinchilla. Like, the only thing I know is I've seen them in pet stores, and I've never seen anyone own one. And then, of course, you hear about the coats.
Right.
You know, chinchilla coats. But otherwise, I never hear the word chinchilla.
Okay.
Rarely.
Well, chinchillas are part of the largest and most diverse family of mammals on Earth, known as the class Rodentia, or the rodents. Okay? So they are a cousin of our squirrels and our chipmunks and our porcupines and beavers and things of that nature that live around here. These are native to South and Central America, primarily South America, and the Andes Mountains. Okay. They used to be very, very populous throughout many of the Andes Mountains regions, but in the 1500s, European explorers discovered chinchillas. Of course, the Incans, the Mayans, and the other tribes of people that have lived there for a very, very long time were probably aware of these chinchillas up at altitude and probably even saw them running around at night and so on because they're nocturnal, but didn't pay much attention to them in the way of either a food source or a pet or a coat. You know, so the Europeans came, and the Europeans were really the first human cultures to really desire this animal's coat for their own. And that started a very, very intense period of trapping of this species. Now, because these guys live at altitude and because they have few predators, one of the primary animals that preys on chinchillas in the wild are owls. So there are few owl species, and these guys have very sensitive hearing because anybody who's seen an owl program from Audubon or the Wings Wildlife Sanctuary or Eyes on Owls, any of those that commonly come to this area, you probably learn a lot about the fact that owls have very specially designed wings, or feathers rather, so that they're very, very silent when they fly. And so these guys have extremely sensitive hearing, obviously as a defense mechanism, to pick up on that danger. These very long whiskers, obviously sensory as well, helping them feel and move their way around in the environment. They do not, unlike their cousins squirrels and chipmunks, have sharp claws, so they don't climb up in trees, but they're able to hop away very quickly and get into tiny, tiny little crevices. Their body can actually kind of almost, see if she'll let me do it real quick, kind of move and spread her ribs and move those hips and so on and get very, very skinny.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Okay, we don't want to stress her too much. But these guys can hide in tiny little rock crevices and so on to escape from predators.
Now, most of the rodents...
Yeah.
I didn't call you
The tiny little feet.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. She's proud of it.
Is she?
She's like, I am a rodent. I am what I am. Please.
But they usually have these nails, you know, for digging. Now, she doesn't have... She's...
Tiny little toes. You want to hold her?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'll stay right here. If she hops away, we'll just take a break and get her back, all right? But two hands flat. You don't have to grasp her, and she'll just stand on your feet. Stand on your hands. There you go. See, no claws digging in, no injury or bleeding required with chinchillas.
It's like holding air.
Yeah.
No, yeah, she just has these little feet, so she doesn't do really any digging.
No,
you're
not
so
a lot of digging.
soft.
They're going to use holes made by other animals, existing rocky crevices, and things of that nature.
You just took a bite of my nail.
Yeah, she does. She loves to nibble nails. Rodents are nibblers, right?
That's okay. It was very gentle.
And so these guys were hunted. Now they don't have many predators, so they don't reproduce quickly. Unlike mice and rats, which you start out with a male and a female, and 6 months later, if you don't do anything to stop it, you get thousands of them because they reproduce so frequently and in such large numbers. These guys here normally have 1 or 2 babies once or twice a year.
Okay.
Their reproductive rate is very low because if they don't have many predators. If they had more predators, they'd reproduce quickly in order to maintain their species population, right?
Makes sense.
And so as people came along, started trapping them in massive numbers, it takes about 250 chinchillas this size to make one beautiful full-length fur coat for a woman. We hunted them, and their population just dropped. Okay. And over the course of a very short period of time, they got to a point where they were almost extinct. Today there are estimated to be less than 10,000 of these left in the wild, only living on the volcanic mountaintops of 3 mountains in northern Chile. And all chinchillas in captivity are descended from a very small population of about a dozen chinchillas that were imported in the early 1900s around the time of the Depression.
Wow.
So all people that do possess these privately, all chinchillas in zoos and educational entities and stuff like that, and all of them that are bred, sadly still today, for their fur, are animals that are bred in captivity, descended from a very, very small population.
Well, that was a really interesting story.
Yeah. All right, super fuzz time now. You thought that animal was fuzzy
Yeah.
and
You're so
soft
cute.
and
I
warm?
never actually held one. That was cool.
This is actually probably the softest animal that we can allow general public contact with.
What would be softer than a chinchilla?
What would be softer than a chinchilla? Gosh. How about...
Oh, there's always this surprise.
this guy?
Look at your back.
He's back. He's back. This is Kota.
Hi, Kota. Oh, the other one
And Kota,
went to the
what's
bathroom.
that? Oh, that's okay. He took care of
Hi,
it.
Kota.
Kota is our Arctic fox. Many of the viewers will know Kota from times of the past. He's been with us for about 5 years. And Kota is our male Arctic fox. Now, Kota has, as you know, been here. And he's been to hundreds of other places. He's been to the library across the street. He's been to programs all over the region. He's been to some of our New York work and our TV work and so on. And honestly, this last spring, about the time we started doing the Wildlife Encounter shows, we're like, poor Kota. I mean, he's being special requested at kids' birthday parties left and right, especially when he's in his beautiful winter white. He's being asked to go to every single school program and so on. This poor guy's getting overworked. You know, it's okay for us to work every day, but the animals, they need a break, you know, their health and their welfare, physically, you know, and psychologically are most important to us. So we decided to get a couple more.
Oh, you did?
Yes, we have 2 females. They're not really on the road. Our animal training specialist is kind of working with them as far as behavior and getting them comfortable to be able to come underneath the bright lights and do things like this and so on. So Kota is kind of like, you know, still a common program animal, but we have 2 more little girls that are still less than a year old. And our entity has the only pack of Arctic fox that travel anywhere in New England.
Wow. So
yeah.
you better enjoy the spotlight, Kota.
Yeah.
Pretty
Go ahead
soon.
and
Oh,
now that's
you're
soft.
soft.
That's soft.
It is soft. Oh, it's so thick too and dense.
Now, I don't think we did it this year, but maybe now that we're entering the 2nd season of Wildlife Encounter shows, we may do something here, if I can make a note. Maybe send him back in the middle of the summer, and you won't even recognize him.
Because he was, when you brought him in, wasn't he? He was tinier.
Oh, I think we brought one of the little girls.
Oh, you know what you did?
Yes.
And she was black with the gray
Correct.
whiskers? Okay.
Yes. And now that he's an adult, and now that they're adults, they're changing white as well. They're not quite as white as he is yet, but they are changing as well.
How old are they when they start to turn white? Is there like
Normally they do it sometime around the 5 to 6 month range. They start to turn.
Okay.
Yeah, but it all depends on where they are as well. It's actually the length of daylight that signals their body to go through the change. They don't migrate like birds with the seasons or anything like that. Instead of changing where they are, they change what they are. So they'll grow a thick, warm fur coat to survive the harsh winters, but then they'll lose it and have a much darker color to them during the summer.
Oh, interesting. So when she comes back in the summertime.
Yeah, if we bring Kota, this young male, if we
Kota.
bring him back in the summer, he will look half this size and be dark.
That's right, because that's how you first brought him in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Koda, it's always nice to see you. I'm not feeling the love though.
Koda's like, I'm still a wild animal. I'm not a puppy dog.
Koda's like, this is I think last time she was here, she had her boundaries.
Yeah.
But she's
Easy.
she has a really exotic face, and she does have a really sweet little wrinkly nose growl. But I don't think we're going to see that.
Honestly, his 2 little girls that came this summer, they've calmed him down quite a bit.
Have they?
Yeah.
I think they keep calling you a girl.
He's not puppy dog tame, but he's doing very well. So we're very excited to bring him back.
Kota, you're perfect to bring us into the new year because you've been here 3 times now.
No, I think
maybe?
he came in the first episode.
So he was only here
Then one of the
twice.
little girls came in the summer.
Okay.
And then he's back here for his 2nd appearance.
Okay. So is he the only one we've had here twice? I'm not sure. Well, regardless, you're the perfect pet to bring us back to the new year.
Yeah.
Well, Derek, I know your hands are full.
I can free one up. Thank you
It's
for
always a pleasure. Happy New Year to you.
You too.
And thanks for coming on. It's always wonderful for us. I'm always learning.
Yes,
Always
for sure.
learning. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you for watching Wildlife Encounters on WCTV Windham Community Television. If you'd like to get up close with these animals or others, please contact the local recreation department or go to the Granite State Zoo's website for more information. Thanks for joining us. Till next time.